The first time I came to Phoenix was in July. And we went out to eat dinner. They said, come on, we go eat dinner. So I said, okay. So I went out and I'm like, oh, it's kind of some hot out here. And I said, it must be coming from the pavement. So I went to put my hand down and it wasn't any hotter than the air. I said, holy cow, it's everywhere.
Wow.
I said, how is this possible? That is so hot. I couldn't believe it. I said, people live here? I still live in Hawaii then, yeah. I still say, people live there? It's really hot. Maybe about 100 right now. But during the summer, during the winter,
less snow.
Mm-hmm.
5,000 and above gets slammed, yeah. 3,000 is okay.
I think last year we got some snow like this much.
Over here, Flagstaff.
No, down my house.
So she's half the elevation of here,
yeah,
where she lives, and it doesn't get any of the snow that they get here. This town gets snowed in.
So now you're in between Phoenix and here. What area? What area is that called?
It's called the Verde Valley, but if you've heard about Sedona, you hear Sedona? That's what we call it. It's 15 minutes drive from Sedona. So very, very
Food is outstanding. I mean, and I'm starving, but still. No, but even if I wasn't starving, this is really, really great food.
Telling the guys we got to get them down to Sedona sometime.
To Sedona once when I was younger. It was very memorable. Yeah, it's really beautiful. There's a feeling there, yeah. There's a certain feeling to Sedona that I don't feel it anywhere else. Leslie, my wife, I think went twice, and she still always talks about Sedona.
Sam has his house with this big picture window in his living room, and it looks right at the Red Rocks. It's just awesome.
Now you understand why I didn't want to say 10-minute drive to your house, because I knew it was going to be like...
Actually, this turned out better than I thought. That's a nice little backdrop. I mean, they had the Arizona flag there first, and I thought, oh boy, it's not very Hawaiian. You know?
That's nice.
Well, we are in Arizona.
Yeah, well, that's true.
We always crack up, speaking of food, when we go to these way off places. That's kind of our thing, as a canoe that won't go anywhere. We came to Flagstaff, really, what made us decide, plus we heard that she was here, but what made us decide was that the question was, we did Scottsdale Center for the Arts 6 years ago, which was great, big show, and we wanted to tack on a show, and then Flagstaff came up as one of the shows, and I think the question was, has any Hawaiian group ever played there? And I go, no, and I go, book it! And there's this Hula that's like from Auntie Maiki's. I'm like, what? So it's crazy. So we see you when we're here, and then do you remember Shauna? She's Shauna Alapa'i now, but Shauna Num, Robert and Roland's girls from like early 80s. Randy Num?
Yeah.
Okay, Randy's sister Shauna. Oh. Okay, Randy and Patrick were Robert's 1 and 2, right? When they used to go out and only use 2 boys. Okay, so Shauna was kind of the 1-2 punch of the girls, Shauna and Moya, or Jackie Booth.
I don't know that one.
If you saw Shauna, you'd recognize her. She's Randy's younger sister.
Probably, yeah.
So she lives in Mill Valley.
Oh, no kidding.
So we see her when we're there, which is awesome. Because we used to go to the Discovery Room, Ron and I, back in the early 80s, because the brothers used to come over for 3 months at a time. And just $5 for the cocktail show. And you got to see the brothers absorb.
That's when you was young.
Grr. Did you say it too? Grr. And Shauna looks like you. Shauna looks fantastic. She does, just like you. That hula stuff must keep you in shape, huh?
Yeah, I dance with my face all the time. I remember the first time I ever saw you was at you were down at Waikolo on the Big Island, and we were at a restaurant, and I think my husband and I walked up to you and just kind of tapped you on the shoulder and said, "Oh, I know what an awesome concert you did," and you were just so gracious.
Well,
I mean, you were really young then. That was like 30 years ago. How old are you now?
I grew up with a dad. I still feel like his hand on the back of my head if I don't open doors for Leslie. So it was all women and me. I from my dad, but he was always like very, like that. So, that's nice. Good. That speaks more of my dad to me, because he was very kind of like that gracious guy.
The guy is famous, and he's so. You didn't know me from Adam. I mean, I was on nobody over there.
We get so excited when anybody recognizes us. It's crazy, isn't it? It's so much fun. I don't know how that could not be exciting to anybody.
Somebody, yeah.
It's just exciting, I don't know. It's just awesome. What's happening to us now is that going to a club. It's happened like 5 times in the last year. It's always like a credit card to some kid working in a store in Honolulu. He looks at the card, and I'm thinking, what? And they look at me, and I'm like, everything okay? And they're like, are you? And I go, does this have to do with Hapa? And they go, yeah. And I go, yeah, that's and he goes, no, I was 3 years old when my parents had that record. That's all I heard when I was 3 years old. I sit there and laugh it up because it's like, I guess that's good. 21 years ago, whatever. Cracks me up, though, that it's... I did the same thing with Jerry Santos. Not that, Hapa stuff was ever like Olamana, but Jerry's records were like so... Seabird in the Wind was like such a record that when I met Jerry, I was like, stupid mumbling. Jerry's like, okay, right on. Yeah, thank you. Like he's heard it a million times.
Well, I just thought that you guys are so famous. It's so famous now, and you still, all of you, just so hot, and just so one of us, so local, and it makes us all feel comfortable. It makes us all feel like just one ohana. And so when you come, and we just feel like, oh, you came home, and
that's so nice.
Show and party and
one thing I want to share is my wife's been dancing with Hula for 10 years, and it's still, even today, every time Hula Ve'e is played, I always get chills. And I know you guys are tired of playing it, but...
Love the song.
You do. It is such a wonderful song. And that recording, it builds so nicely with the banjo and all the other things that are in there. It just gives me chills.
You know who to thank? Honestly, Otis Redding.
Oh, really?
For the banjo?
No, for the arrangement.
Really?
Oh, really?
So, Ronnie knows the story. So, trying to get the song down with 2 guitars in the studio was Kili and I, and it was going nowhere, and the studio was like $100 an hour. This is before everybody had home studios a long time ago. This is 83, 84, 30 years ago. And I knew I had this feeling in my head about slowing the song down, because I thought, after I heard that it was about seaweed and it was about limu, and everybody did the song so chilang-a-lang fast, I'm like, seaweed doesn't move that way in the ocean, it moves like that. So I thought there's got to be some way to slow it down. So we were trying it with 2 guitars, and it just, honestly, it was like $300 on the clock of like completely terrible. So I hate to say this, but I was smoking at the time. That's how long ago this was. It was an evening thing to keep you awake. It was creative. Didn't smoke during the day, but at night, walk outside the studio and have a cigarette with the engineer. And I walked outside by myself. I had the key of G fresh in my head. I walked outside and I was like, oh God, come on. I don't want to give up on the song, I really want to do this. And right, I was thinking, I was like, there, I'll never forget. I still look at the post that I was leaning on when I go by there. And overhead in the shopping center, overhead stereo came on the beginning to Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. Boom, 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 hey, ho, ho, hen. So Duck Dunn's bass playing, if you really listen to Kauala'au, it's the same bass line from... And just listen to Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. Yeah. The song starts with bass. Yeah. And it's the bass, like when the bass comes in on the second verse, it's that boom, 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 boom. So then I thought, well, this is great. Otis Redding was my hero when I was a kid. I got to see him once when I was 12 years old with a basketball under my arm at Palisades Park, which was amazing. Watching this guy singing and sweating and laying on the ground and screaming about how much all of his songs started small and built, like Try a Little Tenderness starts with 1 guitar. And each verse has a keyboard, has drums, has bass, has horns. So that's how I decided to build the song, as if he did a Hawaiian song.
Cool. Now, think to put that ending, that whole ending on it.
That was actually Kevin. Yeah. And the name of the group was Sons of Waiahu. Waiahu Sons.
Waiahu Sons.
I wish we could take credit for it, but actually somebody else did, and we just made it bigger.
Cool.
And that was from the same album of Auntie, I don't think Kanakaole. Auntie Edith. It was from that same record.
Her original recording. Awesome. Yeah,
And
that just kind of makes that, it just seals that song.
I agree. I think so too.
I also like to hear you talk a little bit about Tuahine, because that's a beautiful song too. And I understand you wrote that when you were in Scotland. Is that right?
Ireland, the melody came to me 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then I really wanted to do something with Ron that just, it was like my favorite singer. I wanted him to have something that matched that. Well, that's what you do as a writer, You're thinking about your buddies, a lot of times, because I'm really not. There's only certain vocal songs that are good for me. And Ron's got that really sweet voice, so it's like time to try and put something together, and it's like, wow, I still get chicken skin, I listen to the song every day.
Yeah.
So it's just as we added the strings with that guy, with Rupert adding the strings. But it's from, there's a famous rain that everybody's heard of in Manoa Valley called Tuahine, and although everybody talks about it, nobody knew anything that I asked about who she was. Everybody knew about this princess of Manoa in Hawaiian mythology called Kauala'au. Every hula dancer, every kumu. She was the princess of Manoa, this girl that was so beautiful. Her skin glowed, and when she bathed, the pond glowed, and she was just this beauty, and everyone loved her. And these two men, both of them with lazy eye from Manoa, they would go into Waikiki with these lei that came from the area that she lived, almost like saying in their actions that they had favor with her, which they hadn't. And there was a Hawaiian warrior named Kauhi from Kailua who was betrothed to her. So spiritual, remember, these are supernatural stories. It's like, they're not human stories. So he was betrothed to her. They hadn't met yet, but they were supposed to be married just through the law. She was being fed food from his family's plot in Kailua for her upbringing. You know way more about this than me. And so he actually, in the story, he is so overcome with jealousy that he murders her 5 times. 4 other times he does it, and he, buries her, and her Amokua comes to save her. This owl comes down, digs her out. He buries her, digs her out, breathes life into her, and she comes back. That's 3 times. The 4th time he takes her to Kailua and he buries her under a koa tree, so that when the owl goes to dig her out, he gets caught in the koa roots, because the koa roots are crazy, huh? Koa roots are really like that.
Couldn't get to her.
But a man is walking by after the owl gives up and flies away, and he becomes, like, her family sort of sends their energy through him, and he pulls her out and breathes into her and brings her back to life. So the king at this point is so enraged over the way that Kauhi, one of his chiefs, is treated, Kauala'au, that he has him and the 2 guys with the lazy eyes that spread the stories killed and cooked in an imu.
The moral
How
of
much
the
of
story
that is in
is,
the song?
Well, I always bring up Charles because he taught all of us so much. Charles always said that mo'olelo, he goes, every woman has a pele, every man has a kauhi or a kamapua inside of them, but since we're human, we learn from these mo'olelo how not to act, how not to react violently. They're almost like stories that are shared with us that are of a supernatural nature because we put the human in humanity, So anyway, the end of the story is Kauhi is cooked in an imu with the other 2 guys, and a tidal wave. His family's presence is really strong. Aumokua-wise, it's the shark, and they sent a tidal wave back to Manoa Valley. It washes all the bones into the ocean. Kauhi becomes a shark. Kauala'au wants to go and meet her friends down at Waikiki Beach. She goes with Tuahine, and her father warns her not to go in the water because of Kauhi's shark presence. So Kauhi, Tuahine, the mom, falls asleep on the beach. Kauala'au wants to go play with her friends that are surf bathing. She wanders into the water, and Kauhi grabs her, holds her up for everyone to see, and then swims towards Waianae. This is in the story, I swear. All of Kauhi's followers that loved him and his family now are totally against him. They all go after him. They trap him in Waianae, and he still has her. But I guess when someone is swallowed by a shark presence like that, that's it. It's over. So he swallows her, and that's the end of her life. Tuahine then wakes up. Her daughter's gone. She knows it's the end of the story. She goes back to Manoa Valley and turns herself into the mist to watch over her daughter's home. That's kind of it.
Next time I go there, I'll feel that because I was there once. And it's quite.
It's very maternal. There's some motherly vibe, and when that white, it sometimes when the sun is at a certain point, it looks like a snow flurry. You know when it's her because it's really beautiful, and you can walk through it, and you don't feel the drops on you, but all of a sudden you look down and you have drips coming off your chest and your arms. It's that kind of a mist. It's very thick and potent, but it's not drops falling on you.
I know you want to get ready. Also, my wife has been dancing to Tapa No, and that is such a beautiful song. And the way you guys play it is just, that one is a real, grabs my heart every time.
It's a Tahitian song, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
From, like...
And your voice on that is just gorgeous.
Thank you.
He's speechless now.
We got the Yaki, New Jersey guy, that's why.
So what you
It is a beautiful song.
apparently some recording artist in Tahiti called Laughlin.
Irish, Tahitian, French.
Beautiful man, by the way.
Yeah.
I sent you the video. I said some handsome.
I love watching Tahitian men.
We all think that.
He lives on Kauai, by the way.
Oh, you serious?
Yeah, he moved to Kauai. So I haven't met him yet, but we're looking forward. We were over there. I was over there 2 weeks ago, and we're trying to play over there. We hope we meet him soon.
Did he write that song?
I wrote the song.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And anyway, it's
Yeah.
Well,
beautiful.
for me, I would like to ask one question, and that is, what's it like carrying on the legacy of Auntie Maiki for you?
I am so honored. You know, when I left Hawaii to come here, the biggest thing for me was leaving Halau, as with all hula dancers. You know, you don't like to. You can leave your job. You can even leave your family because you know you can always come back. But when you leave the Halau, your heart just kind of breaks. You know. And so when we were planning to move here, I went to Miss Colleen, went back to Hula Maiki, and I kind of asked permission to come. And she said, "Oh, that's my kai." She said, "Auntie Maiki's never been to Arizona."
Wow.
And I said, "Oh, okay, so it's okay." She says, "Go spread Auntie Maiki's word." So I'm really kind of honored. I'm just very honored to be carrying this legacy and to pass on this honor to my students so that they all know what a special thing that they have to be dancing our lineage.
In her light.
Yes. And I think, to me, as soon as I get that they get it, and I see the light go on, it's like, oh, they're just not in dance class anymore. They're Maiki dancers. That I feel like I have succeeded, and nothing else matters. Can I come home now, please?
I mean, on some level, she is really one of the pico of hula of the last, 50 years. I mean, that's,
And the ironic thing about it is I never met her.
Come on.
I'm serious.
Oh, that makes the story even more intriguing.
I know. When I was dancing, when I first danced, I actually started studying with Lahalaka'aihui. So she's from first class, Auntie Maiki's first Kumiki class. And I had put my name on the list for Halau Maiki. But they only take students once a year. So I got my name on the list, and then I started dancing with Lahala, and in a small group, and we started feeling like ohana. We started entering, performances, competition, and so I just felt like, this is my group. This is my ohana now. And then 6 months later, Halau Maiki called me and said, "Okay, you can come now." And I said, "Oh, that's okay. I'm happy where I am." So they said, "Okay." And 1 year later, Auntie Maiki died. And I was what did I do? And so I danced with Hala for a long time, and then when we went on break and Hala didn't go back, she didn't start up again, and I asked her permission, can I go to Halau Maiki? And she said, yeah, go. Different kind, different mana'o, but go ahead and go. So I went, and it was like I'm in the mother Halau. Here I am. I'm in her presence. I'm in everything that Auntie Maiki set up. And I was with Miss Colleen, and that's where I stayed until I moved to the Big Island.
Wow.
So I never really met her, but I used to always write in my hula book that Miss Colleen used to always collect. I said, I've never met Auntie Maiki, but every time I dance on stage, I feel like she's with me. And then Miss Colleen wrote back on one of my pages. She said, she is.
I feel the same way too.
And she recognized that. So anyway, I'm very proud to be of this lineage. I'm very happy to pass it on to my students. So that was awesome when I hear you say stuff like Auntie Maiki is on stage. It's like,
so Auntie Maiki's in the house.
That's the best compliment you can give any Maiki dancer. That if I can dance that style, that you can recognize it.
It's like Boys and Daryl.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, different with Auntie Maiki, even heavier, but with Daryl, it's still pretty heavy in the last 30 or 40 years, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned Daryl.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Maikairo.
Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for doing this. Excellent, you guys.
Mr. Hula.
Wait, come on, run, eat.
You're so welcome. No one's rushed when we walked in. I just knew the sound check was running late. I wanted to make sure you take care of me. I can tell when I walked in that it was going to be good.
I'm going to try
I have like eagle eyes for sound set up on stage. When I get to lighting, wasn't just 3 or 4 hours.